So if you're thinking about whether adding an addition to your house or selling in 2026 is better, hold your thoughts for a bit, because in this video, I'm going to give you all the information that you're looking for to make the best decision possible. Now, before you go into drawings, before you call contractors, before you keep creating Pinterest lists, you need to understand what's involved in the zoning and the permitting process, because in the city of Toronto, the difference between making your dream home and a municipal nightmare, it's all down to the paperwork and the timing. And then in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through when you need a permit, what the zoning codes actually mean, when committee of adjustments gets involved, the real timelines, and what it's going to realistically cost you in 2026. My name is Jonathan Renna. I'm a licensed realtor in the city of Toronto, and I help people every day answer questions just like this. Now, before we really get into it, you have to ask yourself the question, what is better? Is it staying in our home or is it making the move? There are pros and cons to both. Moving, buying, selling, it costs money, but so does renovations. Moving is uncomfortable, but so is renovations. Starting fresh in a new location is stressful for everyone. Well, so is renovations. Both sides are equal, I think. It really just boils down to the quality of life. What will improve the quality of daily life more? Going through the headache of moving or the headache of renos? So let's look at the reno. I have all the links in the description below to help you navigate the Department of the City of Toronto for all of the information that you need to know before you submit any applications or permits. And that being said, if you think that this information is useful and the content is helpful, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, because it helps people like you find people like me so that they stay informed on all the shit they need to know. So when do you need a permit? Well, in Toronto, if you increase the size of your home, you're going to need a permit. And I think you already know that though. You're going to need a permit if you add square footage, build a second story, alter any structural walls, modify the foundation in any way, add some plumbing, change the roof lines, or create a secondary suite. Now, the official source are in all of the links down below in the description. If you're painting your house, replacing the flooring, adding some cabinetry, then no, you don't need a permit. But if you're expanding the building envelope in any way, shape, or form, you will. And there's no gray area. Now, know what's been approved in your area before you assume anything. This is important. So your zoning. This is where a lot of people get this wrong. Before the city reviews any permit or proposal, you must comply with zoning. Now, let's decode some of these zoning labels and what they actually mean. So if you can see here, you've got RM. If you go over, you've got OR. If you go over a little bit more, you've got RD. This is multiple residential. This is residential detached. This is parkland. Over here, this is RA. This is apartments. Up here, this is CR. This is commercial residential. And all of these different codes have different stipulations and different height maximums, lot coverage maximums, floor space index, setbacks on the front and the rear and the side, and your landscaping. Now, I'm not going to get into what the specific details are and what all of these numbers on my screen mean, but if you are going to do a renovation, your architect will help you understand them a lot better. If your addition exceeds any of those limits that are set out by the city, your height, your depth, your lot coverage, then you're not compliant. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're not compliant, then that leads to the committee of adjustments. What's the committee of adjustments? Well, if your proposal doesn't meet the zoning standards, then you have to apply for what's called a minor variance. And here's what that means in reality. So if you're non-compliant, you have to submit an application. Your neighbors get notified. There's going to be a public hearing, and a decision will be issued. Now, the timeline to that could be anywhere between 3 to 6 months at a minimum, and there's fees associated there as well. Remember, the approval is not always guaranteed. This is where a lot of projects get delayed, derailed, or just completely redesigned. Now, what do you need before submitting an application? Well, before submitting an application, you're going to need architectural drawings, which include site plans, elevations, floor plans, sections of the build. And this cost through an architectural firm could be anywhere between $8,000 to $20,000. You might need a structural engineer, required only if you're modifying the load-bearing components of the house, but that could cost you anywhere between $2,000 to $6,000. An updated survey, if you don't already have one, that could be $2,000 to $4,000. And this works out to be about either $12,000 to $30,000, and this is even before the permitting costs and before your construction costs. So your permitting fees and the reviews. So when you submit for permitting fees, it's all calculated on a per square foot basis. Typical costs for these permitting fees are $2,000 to $5,000. The review time for zone compliance could be 4 to 8 weeks. And if there's a variance required, then just add months to that schedule. Now, what do the construction costs look like in 2026? So let's talk some numbers. So basic additional costs used to be around $300 to $400 probably a square foot, but since COVID, supply chain issues, and cost of materials went up, we're seeing anywhere between $500 to $600 plus per square foot, depending on the finishes and the materials that you guys are using. So a 500 to 800 square foot addition to your house could be anywhere between $150,000 to $300,000. And if you're adding a second addition, then your costs go up because there's going to be structural reinforcement, your HVAC upgrades, electrical panel upgrades. And you should always remember, budget 10 to 20% of contingency, because when you open a wall and you find something, because you always will find something, you have to remedy that problem. So what does your full timeline look like? Well, the design is 2 to 4 months. Zoning is 3 to 6 months. Permit review is 1 to 2 months. And your construction could be anywhere between 4 months all the way up to 2 years, depending on the scope of work. And remember, whenever you're doing major systems or major renovations, you have to have a city inspector come out, approve the work before you're even allowed to continue. The total could be anywhere between 4 months all the way up to 2 years. From the idea to completion, and anything faster means that you probably are cutting corners, or it's a small job. So what happens if you cut some corners? Well, the city could issue stop work orders. You could get fined. You could be forced to remove all the stuff that you put in there. You have insurance issues. You have problems at resale. And God forbid buyers ask for you to produce all of the permits, because if you don't have them and they're not closed, you're automatically negotiating from a point of weakness. So in closing, the question isn't just, can I build this? It's, does the renovation increase the equity or improve the quality of life? Or is it just going to cost a boatload of money? Sometimes the smarter move is selling and buying something larger. Sometimes building makes sense, but that decision has to be strategic, not emotional. If you want to evaluate whether additional costs make financial sense in your specific Toronto neighborhood, reach out, because construction is expensive and stressful, and mistakes can be permanent. I'm Jonathan Renna, sales rep at Keller Williams, and I'll see you in the next one.